off the ground if I didn't say that in the last video, because I took a little bit of a break there. But anyway, yeah, so people that think, oh, well, second, gun owners in America will never be able to stand up against the drones. Well, drones aren't absolute unless you use them indiscriminately. And even then, every 24 hours you have to land them or refuel them, and they'll never get off the ground. A few of them will, but they'll never get off the ground. Why? Well, if you have sheriffs that are out there training civilians to be snipers against, to help them out against the federal numbers, think about that. Every time a Fed government guy gets shot, he's going to be hard to replace, especially once the shooting starts, And unfortunately, there will be an extremely large amount of these guys. And, they think they're right. They're going to be willing to kill civilians in large numbers. Proof of this is the no hesitation targets of the pregnant ladies and stuff that the Department of Homeland Security spent $2 million. So again, they don't buy these things unless they know they're going to get a benefit out of it. And the benefit is desensitize, their agents so that they'll just shoot and kill anybody. That said, they're going to get outnumbered pretty quick. And FBI, NSA, CIA, all them guys, especially the people up at the top, them, their families, they're pretty much all going to get assassinated. That's what happens in all the overthrowings overseas. So I can't see, and people here, unlike overseas, they know who everybody is. Now, to add to that, okay, like I say, what they would be willing to do to Obama is, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But it's going to come to that because, well, he's not doing anything to stop it. In fact, he's more encouraging it than anything with the gun control and stuff like that. But typical Marxism, like he is a Marxist, he even if he doesn't realize it. It's like, my rule or, my ruler or else. But again, it gets down to the point where when you have sheriffs teaching civilians how to be snipers and stuff like that. Well, they're also teaching the civilians the tactics of the Fed. You know what I mean? So you got larger numbers in the civilian population. The largest military in the world is hunters and farmers. They don't need full auto. Single shot. Single shot muskets is all that the civilians need. If they pull off one successful shot, 90,000 shots later, you have no more Department of Homeland Security agents. That's simple. They have a bolt-action rifle with 3 shots. They can add the FBI and the CIA to that too. You know what I mean? And of course, in the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security, and the FBI, the military, and all these other people. Even the military. Obama's already put out, a letter from his on WhiteHouse.gov last year. I can't remember where it was, where they were talking about, that there was problems within the agency that they had to watch out for rogue agents. Well, okay, let's talk about those no hesitation targets. That is the sinus knife. That's where that window for reset is almost completely at a close. After that, it's you take our guns from our cold dead hands. Okay, you took the guns from his cold dead hands. Now we're going to go kill your family. That's what's going to happen. The retribution will be brutal, and then of course, it'll just be a bloodbath. There will be no law. There will be no order. It's going to be brutal. Now, the military, how many of them are going to stand down? None of them. Nope. Absolutely nobody will stand down, law enforcement or military. This is the problem. Means if the feds come in, the sheriffs will stand. They're not going to step aside for the gun confiscation. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. That means you cross this line, you die. Well, same with the military. You're either with us or you're against us, sort of mentality. Meaning, again, soldiers aren't going to say, well, I'm not going to be a part of this. They're going to say, I'm not going to be a part of this. Get fired, go home, load their magazines, get ready. And, oh yeah, by the way, this is the tactics they're going to deploy on you. And, the federal government, they don't have a chance. Not a chance in hell. It will probably last a couple of months with a severe shooting. After that, I mean, the world will be very Mad Max-like down there because, there's going to be no law enforcement. They're all going to get assassinated. So you wear a uniform of the government in any short, like county sheriff's not so bad because people will recognize them and they'll know them by name, and they'll stand and they'll know who stood by who. But your average patrol officer, well, he's just going to get a bullet to the head. There'll be snipers on roofs everywhere. They just won't have a chance. So, you're probably saying, how could you even say that? Have you seen the equipment that they have? Thermal imaging, FLIR systems, they have night vision, they have like everything. They've got drones, they've got tanks, yeah, but unless you live in a tank, you're a groundhog. Why? Because when that tank runs out of fuel, you either sit there and wait till somebody refuels it, or you pop your head out of the hatch, and then you're a groundhog. So tanks, the weak part of the tank is not the tank, it's the man. Jets, sure, they're fine. But unless you just start carpet bombing, all the civilian areas, and again, they'll never get off. They might get off the ground, but as soon as they go to land, they're going to get destroyed. Oh, look at that! There's a drone on the tarmac, and it's getting refueled. Yeah, let's put an incendiary round into the fuel trucker. You know what I mean? That's what they do overseas. Have you not caught on yet? And another thing to keep in mind is, quite simply, it's unachievable for the federal government to ever even, so they'll step down before it's just people need to start barking loud so that they can get back to a reset rather than, because people are you're seeing it in the Second Amendment rallies all over the place, and the amount of sheriffs that are speaking out against this. Not chiefs of police. Chiefs of police are scum. They're bureaucrats. They're not boots on the ground. They are appointed. They're not elected. I don't know if in every state's like that, but it's where you find the guys that have a bit of a back spine and standing up against the Fed, like all the sheriffs that are. These guys are elected. They're elected because people like them. They're not yes men. They're more just. And again, the reason why the Fed could never win is quite simple. Afghanistan is a graveyard for superpowers. You got guys that are living in caves that are dumber than sticks with antique AK-47s. The Russians couldn't beat them 10 years on, 11 years on. How many years is it since, the invasion of, 2002? So 11 years later, no headway. The Taliban just saying, well, as soon as they leave, we take power again. You couldn't defeat those guys. And they got antique AKs. They're dumber than sticks. And you can't defeat those guys. Why? Because they have the will to fight. Right now, the American people, most of them don't have the will to fight, but some do, And the ones that do are typically the gun owners. So, you do the math. How do you think it's going to work out for the Fed? Not very well. It doesn't matter the technology they have. They just can't hold off the numbers. It's just, even the full United States Marines, Air Force, all that, there's not enough personnel just to take on, the single-shot shotguns. You know what I mean? It's just, there's like 300 million people, 312 million people in the States. Half of them are gun owners, and only about 4 million of them are military, and maybe 8 million military, law enforcement, and Marines, versus the rest. You do the numbers, and yeah, But again, so what would be the catalyst to make this all happen? Well, quite simply, one of those no hesitation targets, like the pregnant lady, becomes reality, and somebody doesn't hesitate. Well, that will be tolerated very much. The first pregnant lady that gets shot by a Department of Homeland Security, and the guy gets suspended with pay, he'll never go back to work because he's going to get his throat slit, pretty much. Again, I'm not making any threats, but I can see what people are going to do to these people. You're subhuman anyway. They're going to get rid of you. Now, who benefits from this? This is probably the most important part of the video. Is that this could all be a foreign takeover. We've already seen the foreign takeover with the banks. This could be a UN ploy. Obama is so pro-UN that it isn't that far of a stretch that this is all purpose. It's like they're probably saying, what's taking these fucking Americans so long to revolt? Every other country, all you got to do is make a cartoon of a Muslim. You can have a regime change over that. And depopulation as you want, but these freaking Americans are too tolerant. Well, think about it. Who benefits? Well, the second the United States military is pinned down, or the law enforcement, all those guys are pinned down by the civilians, who's moving in? North Korea, China, Russia, UN. You know what I mean? But here's the good news. Knowing American exceptionalism as it is, so to speak. As a Canadian, I can tell you, whenever there's an American in the room, I usually know. They usually stand out. I have nothing against Americans. We Canadians are kind of like that too. People usually can spot a Canadian pretty, with their beady little eyes, and always saying sorry. Sorry. But anyway, the point is that the thing is that as soon as there's any sort of foreign invader, all domestic squabbles will pretty much be gone. You will have a unification of the country like you wouldn't believe, and they'll enjoy it. Yeah. Oh yeah. The UN wouldn't probably last too long. It would destroy a lot of countries, and the fact that they would overthrow. This would get scary. The fact that they would overthrow, the existing current government. The new orders might be get that country, get that country, get that country, get that, kill them all. Yep. Civil war can get very big, which could also lead to global conflict, and hopefully not a nuke exchange, but, it could get to that too. So, sure, it's all speculation. But so far, if you go back to my assassination of Barack Hussein Obama, now, the timeline at the time I said was probably about 6 weeks after he got elected, which that time has clearly come and passed. But at the time, the rhetoric was there, so I don't want to give timelines. All I'll tell you is that after March 1st, if they kick in they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they kick in the cuts, that the Bush tax cuts, the fiscal cliff, which they already went over, they just prolonged it. So now they actually have to, they're not going to have a choice. Now, of course, we've seen how Congress runs things, and it's a typical left-wing movement, but they're trying to crash the dollar. So, they're just, okay, we'll rack up more debt. We'll rack up more debt. That's why Obama is the biggest spending president in history. Just rack up more debt, rack up more. They're trying to crash the dollar, and they can't seem to do it. That day becomes a bloody day. And, well, they did it purposely. There won't be you do know, if you're a banker, change your occupation now. Especially if you know what's coming. Because, again, all the law enforcement military that are standing up against the Fed, they know all the tactics. And they also know all the names and who did what. And all the politicians that are actually starting to speak out, they know who signed what and who didn't read what and just passed it just so that it, to see what was in it. Those type of people, those people usually end up in a firing line. That's what's going to happen to us. No threats made, but you got to look at reality. That's what's going to be. It will be their official resignation. So we'll see where it goes. But I mean, after these cuts, a lot of people are going to be hurting. The biggest one is going to be the welfare riots. So that's what's going to probably be noticeable first, because those are probably going to be the first services cut. So anyway, I guess I'll just leave it at that, or maybe I'll make one more. Okay, so like I was saying in the last video, the drones will never get off the ground. If I didn't say that in the last video, because I took a little bit of a break there. But anyway, yeah, so people that think, oh, well, second, gun owners in America will never be able to stand up against the drones. Well, drones aren't absolute unless you use them indiscriminately. And even then, every 24 hours you have to land them or refuel them, and they'll never get off the ground. A few of them will, but they'll never get off the ground. Why? Well, if you have sheriffs that are out there training civilians to be snipers against, to help them out against the federal numbers, think about that. Every time a Fed government guy gets shot, he's going to be hard to replace, especially once the shooting starts, And unfortunately, there will be an extremely large amount of these guys. And, they think they're right. They're going to be willing to kill civilians in large numbers. Proof of this is the no hesitation targets of the pregnant ladies and stuff that the Department of Homeland Security spent $2 million. So again, they don't buy these things unless they know they're going to get a benefit out of it. And the benefit is desensitize, their agents so that they'll just shoot and kill anybody. That said, they're going to get outnumbered pretty quick. And FBI, NSA, CIA, all them guys, especially the people up at the top, their families, they're pretty much all going to get assassinated. That's what happens in all the overthrowings overseas. So I can't see, and people here, unlike overseas, they know who everybody is. Now, to add to that, okay, like I say, what they would be willing to do to Obama is, yeah, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But it's going to come to that because